Today's video was sponsored by Storyblocks Video. I did not quite understand what all the hype about Sony's new 20mm f1.8 lens that everybody seemed to be talking about was at first, so I chatted up my friend Jace from Lens Library, who safe to say knows quite a fair bit more about lenses than I do. Turns out 20mm primes with bright apertures simply aren't very common, even more so for the case of bright 20mm primes that are small and light. So it makes sense that this lens has stirred up quite a bit of excitement, especially considering that the focal length is not particularly niche either. In other words, this is a focal length everybody can see themselves using. But let me start by first painting a picture of the 20mm focal length, since it's quite uncommon. On the full-frame body, it kind of feels like an in-between of the main and ultra-wide camera when you are shooting on a camera phone. So you have to be quite aware of where you're pointing it because it includes a lot of the scene, but not to the point of extreme perspective distortions like you would get from an ultra-wide-angle lens. This thing is priced at $900, so it's rather expensive, but not quite, G Master expensive. In fact, there is actually a G Master lens that is very similar to this lens, and this is the 24mm f1.4 G Master, and it is priced at $1,400, so it's $500 more expensive than the 20mm. And before I go ahead and compare these two lenses, probably shouldn't be holding them like this, you've probably heard in the beginning that we are being sponsored by Storyblocks Video today, and they are where I license my motion graphics assets and stock footage from. Instead of them charging you for every single clip that you download, Storyblocks Video works as a subscription. And their unlimited video plan is not only rather affordable, it gives you unlimited downloads of anything in the library, so not only can you use as many clips as you like, you can test out different clips in your project to see how it feels. You can use those clips anywhere you like, including right here on YouTube, and they are filmed to professional standards. It is really easy to search for a clip, and they have a collection of After Effects templates included in the library, so check out the link in the description to learn more about Storyblocks Video. So I find it quite interesting to compare the 20mm f1.8 to the 24mm f1.4 G Master lens because they are not the easiest lenses to tell apart when you have them side by side. The 24mm just kind of looks like a bigger version of the 20. In fact, I actually find myself checking the lens labels quite often to identify which lens I'm holding. The placement and layout of everything on these two lenses are identical. And the same goes for the build quality as well. The 20mm actually feels as solid as the G Master. But when you're holding both the lenses in your hands, you can most definitely feel that the 24mm GM is heavier. We are looking at 373 grams versus 445 grams, which actually makes the 20mm f1.8 impressively light for what it is. For sure, there are some obvious differences between these two lenses. For example, the difference in maximum aperture. The 20mm f1.8 is 2/3 of a stop darker than the 24mm f1.4. And because these two lenses are on the wider end of things, that 4mm difference in focal length is significant, but I wouldn't call it drastic yet. The difference in field of view can quite easily be compensated for by taking a few steps away or towards your subject, but the perspective and background compression will be different. However, and personally for me at least, if I already had one of these two lenses mounted on my camera, I simply won't see myself reaching for the other lens. So given how similar they appear, you would probably think that the image quality of the 20mm f1.8 won't be up to par with the 24mm f1.4 because this is cheaper. But comparing them both at f1.8, they both seem similarly sharp to me. This 20mm f1.8 seems to be doing excellent at resolving fine detail wide open, even under the scrutiny of the 42MP A7R III. I do notice, however, that the images out of the 20mm appear to have a bit more contrast than the 24mm. It has a slightly poppier look compared to the 24, which appears to be a bit more gentle with tones and slightly more tamed highlights. And the 24mm, being a slightly longer lens and having a brighter maximum aperture, is a more bokeh-licious lens, so I would definitely give the 24mm GM a win when it comes to bokeh. It is slightly smoother than the 20mm's bokeh, and it gives the image a bit more of a dreamy quality to it. That being said though, the bokeh on the 20mm is not bad for a wide-angle lens. And when it comes to lens distortion, as a wide-angle lens, it is unsurprising that there is a little bit of it on the 20mm, but it's very well controlled. It's quite impressive how straight this can render vertical lines. You know, for two lenses that look so alike and perform rather closely, it is a bit hard to brain that there is a $500 gap separating these two, but I suppose for any Sony shooters who's wanted a bright wide-angle prime but find the 24mm G Master to be a bit out of budget, this new 20mm is probably good news. It's a slightly wider alternative that's also a tad more affordable, it's slightly smaller, it's slightly lighter, but most importantly, it has very comparable performance to a G Master. There is no doubt that this new 20mm would be quite an attractive lens to a wide variety of photographers. I can see landscape photographers using this. This would definitely be a very popular lens for astrophotography. It would be quite useful for video gimbal work, considering its weight. It works as a travel photography lens, and you can most definitely just use this as a casual go-out lens for casual shooting. Like, I wouldn't mind bringing this to a cafe for some photos. So that's pretty much it for today. Check out my Instagram where I'll be posting some photos from this lens, and you also should absolutely most definitely watch some of my other videos here.